What it is, so that's boys want to try me. I got me inside me, hold up and getting wild. You can call me presidential because I'm chilling in the lobby since then, getting girls up in bed trying to buy me. You know what it is. You know I got to say, I'm going to get your girl and I'm going to make you buy her back. And you know I'm riding dirty 26 on the left.
I'm the hottest out the 318. Swear to God, I put that say. Louisiana is my town. I hold it down for my state. Everywhere I go, the niggas know that I'm the truth. From the motherfucking streets to the motherfucking booth.
There you go. Off the top right there.
Off the top.
Those off the top. I thought those were written.
It's gonna be like, you know, Boots in Louisiana, you know, like, it's gonna be crazy. She's gonna spread everywhere, and they know he had that talent.
Yeah, Lil Snupe, that's still my man. That's fucked up what happened, and I feel like in the recent rise of like youth, like the young rappers making like millions of dollars quick, I feel like he'd have been a millionaire, you know what I'm saying? And I think that the fool that smoked him kind of had that in the back of his mind the whole time and probably wasn't into seeing him, you know, with that.
You know, and it hurt that we had to, you know, that we have to bury him today. Like you took away a friend, a son, and an icon to a lot of people.
Whether they called him Lil Snupe or just a Darien, many say he was a rising star they'll not soon forget.
Darren Ross, aka Lil Snupe, was born on June 13, 1995, in Jonesboro, Louisiana, to his mother, Denisha Chester, and his father, Charlie Brown. His mom had him at a very young age, and his dad would be in and out of prison for much of his life. Jonesboro is a small town of less than 5,000 in the Jackson County parish. Not too many people are able to make it out, and the resources to succeed are almost non-existent. Growing up, he watched his mom struggle as a young parent trying to make ends meet and provide the best that she could. Lil Snupe began to show an interest in rap at only 4 years old. He would tell his mom that one day he was gonna be famous. She really didn't take him seriously at the time, but supported her son's aspirations regardless. When Snupe was 3 years old, his father, who had numerous run-ins with the law, was sentenced to 21 years in prison. And it was starting to look like he was gonna follow in his father's footsteps. He was arrested on multiple occasions for numerous juvenile crimes, ultimately being sent to a detention center. But despite his mom's best efforts to keep him out of the streets, he would continue to get in trouble. Snupe wasn't ready to give up the streets. He also never gave up on his dream of wanting to become a rapper. And at 15 years old, he was still telling his mom that's what he was gonna be, one of the most famous and well-known rappers in the world, who put Jonesboro, Louisiana on the map. But his mom would respond by saying that God's not gonna bless you with anything until you change your ways and start to live a more positive life. Eventually, Snupe would start to listen to his mom, taking heed to her wise words, putting more focus into rap instead of focusing on the streets. His mom purchased music equipment for him so he could set up his own studio in his room. She admitted that she didn't purchase the equipment because she wanted him to become a rapper. Initially, it was a way for her to know where he was at instead of running around Jonesboro with the wrong crowd. Snupe would be in his studio creating for hours on end, and the music could be heard throughout their small apartment, and his mom noticed the progression he was making as a rapper.
He was like 4, I believe. He was rapping then. He would just kind of say something that really didn't make sense the first sentence, and then the next one just would rhyme whatever he said. I think it's in his DNA because his father, if he would have played his cards right, he would have been a rapper or whatever have you. So I think it was just more so in his DNA, and he just lived out his father's dreams is what he did.
Like, you gotta get on YouTube and like, you gotta expose yourself, you know what I mean? Like, let people start knowing who you is. You don't just rap by yourself, you know what I'm saying, when you just chilling. Like, you gotta let people know who you is, you know what I'm saying? Okay. What's mine? That's just hands down. Jones bring this mother. And any getting away, I swear to God you getting rolled over. That's just real. Come on, man. It's the takeover, and we balling over here, but I'm on the mic like I'm f***ing broke. Keep that hunger, nigga.
Snupe knew that there wasn't much of a music scene where he was from, so he would have to find a way to get his name out to the public. So he decided to start posting freestyle videos on YouTube as free promotion. in hopes that the right person seen him and was able to put him on in the music industry. He was able to gain some traction, with one of his videos being posted on Hodge World Entertainment and going on to get over 1 million views on YouTube. Snoop was really trying to make things happen in his rap career, and his mom seen that too and wanted to help her son out in any way that she could. She contacted a cousin in California that she knew who was into music, an engineer and producer who goes by the name of C-Now. After speaking with his cousin, he told Denisha that he would give her son a listen and let her know what he thought. He went to YouTube and looked up some of the music that Snoop had already put out, and he was blown away by what he heard. He called Snoop's mom back and told her that he was making plans for him to come out to California so they can make music together. But for some reason, those plans fell through and Snoop would never make the trip to Cali, although fate and circumstances would bring them together due to the fact that there was family issues going on in Louisiana that forced C-Now to leave California and move back to his home city, not too far from where Lil Snupe was at. They got together and started discussing the idea of creating a mixtape. Snoop told C-Now that he wanted to call it 16 and Running. He wanted it to have 16 tracks with a mix of freestyle and original music by him.
His mom, my cousin, Denisha, she contacted me like, I got a son. And I ain't just saying this because he my son, but I believe he got it. You should check him out. I heard him and I was like, man.
He also continued to make a name for himself around Louisiana, winning multiple freestyle battles at Grambling State University. During one of those battles, he ran into a man named Edric Stewart, aka Lil E, a small town hustler from Monroe, Louisiana, who spent a lot of time in Jonesboro. They got real cool and Snoop started to spend a lot of time with Lil E and his friends. Some of them were even the same people who were around when Lil Snoop started to record his debut mixtape 16 and Running. According to C-Now, when they first started recording, the studio stayed full, but as the grind of creating an album kicked in, over time it was just him and Snoop. There were also people who were a part of Snoop's circle who tried to pull C-Now to the side and tell him that he's wasting his time and that he should try to work with a bigger artist from Louisiana because nobody wants to hear a little kid from Jonesboro.
D-Lo, he right beside me, and I be in the hood and it ain't never hard to find me.
Damn. Man. It getting real.
Spit that shit.
Grinding, man. 16 and Running, everybody make sure they get that, the hottest, dropping. I really put my heart and my soul into that, my surroundings, everybody around me. I put them in there and just let them really know that I really am the next up. I really do this, you know what I'm saying? It ain't a game, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really from a small city, big dream.
Who put that music together for you? Who put those beats together for you?
Man, C-Now, man, he engineered my whole little mixtape. Like, he gave me a chance. Nigga gave me a chance. Like, niggas was didn't wear recording. Like, you know what I'm saying? Even I know my was probably telling him even when he first started with me, like, it ain't gonna work out, right? But shit, the nigga is still, you know what I'm saying? And we here today, you know what I'm saying?
Despite what the doubters were saying, Snoop and C-Now continued to put in work. They even decided to create a documentary to show Snoop's come up. They also posted it on YouTube to get promotion for the upcoming mixtape. But soon Snoop would get the opportunity to really make a name for himself in music. He got word that his favorite rapper Meek Mill would be performing at Grambling State University in the fall of 2012. Snoop believed that if he could get his demo tape in Meek Mill's hands, it could possibly change his life. He had an inside connect with a security guard at Grambling. He asked her if she could get him backstage when Meek Mill came. She agreed to set it up, and Snoop knew that he had his opportunity. Snoop told his producer C-Now what his plans was, and he thought that it was a good idea. Snoop grabbed the demo tape, and he was headed on his way on the night of the concert. But before he left out, C-Now stopped him and told him that instead of taking one demo, he should take two. At first, Snoop resisted, but ultimately went along with C-Now's idea, and it would prove to be a life-changing decision. He made the drive from Jonesboro to Grambling with Lil E and his friends, and when they arrived, the concert was absolutely packed. Snoop still made his way through a sea of people to find the security guard who was gonna let him backstage to see Meek, giving him that one moment that he needed to hand his rap idol his demo. But the security guard had bad news. It was too many people backstage, and it just wasn't enough room to let him back there. But she did tell Snoop that she could take his demo CD and hand it to Meek Mill directly. He was disappointed but agreed. Then he remembered that he had a second demo CD. His producer Senil's advice had went from being an afterthought to absolute genius. He then left the building through a side door, and when he stepped outside, he was staring directly at Meek Mill's SUV, and it was completely empty. He knew at some point Meek and his crew would have to come outside, and that would be his opportunity to give him his demo. When he seen Meek get in the truck, he ran over and tapped on the window, and when it rolled down, he threw his demo tape inside and told him to check it out before walking away.
So we come out, you know what I'm saying, get in the van. Yeah, they get in the van, they finna go. I knock on the door, I knock on the window, you know what I'm saying, they look over, and I hold my mixtape up. You know what I'm saying, the driver let down the window, they grab it, and I walked off. So boom, we go to the little party. We outside chilling before we go in and shit outside the party. So my homeboy them telling me like, my nigga threw your shit out the window, man. Ain't nobody listen to that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he like, man, you shit fine, but I don't know about this nigga just, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yo, what's up? It's your boy Meek Mill, and my first time with Lil Snupe, I remember leaving out of a college in Louisiana. When I was leaving out of college, there was a lot of people banging on my window, but it was one young kid, he had a hoodie on. He had his hoodie on, and he was just banging on my window, but he was calmed on it. I told my homie, like, get his CD, and when we rode off, we played the CD on the jet. The first beat he rapped off was one of my beats.
And he was from the South with a flow of an East Coast guy, like with that bounce flow all over the place. He really could spit, you know what I'm saying? And he was talking that talk that I could really relate to. I could feel, so, you know, that's what I speak. So I seen that in him. You know, I seen hungriness, you know, I seen potential in him.
He was extremely excited that he accomplished his mission, but when he got back in the car and told his friends that he was able to give Meek his demo, they quickly doubted that anything would come of it and said that he probably threw his demo tape out of the window. But they would be proven wrong, because within an hour of getting Lil Snoop's CD, he was already tweeting out his lyrics. Then he received a phone call from Meek, telling him that he was a hot rapper and that he was interested in signing him to his new label he was forming, called Dream Chasers. Everybody in the car was in complete disbelief, especially Snoop. He already looked up to Meek Mill as a rapper, and now he had the opportunity to actually sign to his label and get his foot into the music business. When he got home, he was extremely excited to tell his mom about what just happened. He had to pull up Meek Mill on YouTube to show her who he was. She was happy for her son, but found it hard to believe that anything would ever come of it. Snoop came to her and told her that he had been in contact with Meek and that he was gonna be sending him a bus ticket in the next few weeks. He wanted to bring him out to Philly so they could hit the studio. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, especially somebody from Jonesboro, but initially his mom would tell him no. Due to the fact that he was still underage during this time, being only 17, he had never left the state of Louisiana, and he was his mama's only son. She was very protective of him, and the idea of him going to a big city like Philadelphia alone made her extremely worried. Snoop had to come up with an idea to get his mom on his side. He had one of his friends pose as a representative of Meek Mill's camp, making it seem like everything was already set up when Snoop arrived in Philadelphia. When the day finally arrived for Snoop to depart, his mom made sure to pack all of his luggage, all of his clothes, food, snacks, and any necessities that he may need. Even though he was setting out on his journey to become a man, he was still her baby. According to his mom, Denisha, when they were at the bus station, she was crying uncontrollably. She said the bus driver looked at her like she was crazy, and her and Snoop shared a long hug before he got on the bus. She continued to cry as the bus drove away, and her and Snoop maintained eye contact until she received a text message from him that said, "Mama, don't cry. I'm about to go and change our lives."
So a couple of weeks later, he was like, Meek want me to come to Philly. And I was like, Snoop, you're not going to Philly. Because I'm working, right? And who gonna go to Philly like on a, say, well, I'm gonna go hoping this man sign you. He come back, I got my ticket. But it was a Greyhound ticket.
Or a bus ticket.
And I was like, Greyhound ticket? What are you sending? I'm thinking, why would you done been down here on a jet and you gonna send for my baby on a Greyhound?
Yeah.
Like, that. Then here I go again with my logic thinking self. Well, maybe he just want to see how bad Snoop wants it. And I'm just hugging him like, Snoop, if they get to acting weird, you need to use the bathroom. I'm on my way. I was trying to get him ready for if something happened.
Yeah.
And Snoop was like, he gonna be okay. And he got on the bus and there was an overpass. And before he could get over, I could still see the bus leaving. And he texted me, he said, Mama, do not cry. I'm about to make our dreams come true.
Wow.
Snoop had been rapping ever since he was a little kid and always had dreams of becoming a star. This opportunity in front of him was years in the making. It was a chance to get out of the streets, a chance to get out of Jonesboro and out of poverty, finally turning his nightmares into dreams. When he arrived in Philly, he immediately got an opportunity to further impress Meek, going up against some of the young hot rappers in the city in a freestyle battle, with the most classic being up against a rapper named Retro, who was signed to NFL player Deshaun Jackson's record label. Not to mention that $10,000 was on the line, more money than Snoop had ever seen at one time in his life. It went on to gain 14 million views on YouTube and went down in history as a legendary freestyle battle. Meek was impressed with Snoop, and he began to spend a lot of time in Philly around the Dream Chasers crew. He continued to earn his stripes with impressive freestyles in the studio, and Snoop knew that it was only a matter of time before he became an official member of the Dream Chasers. In March of 2013, he would drop his RNIC mixtape with a single called Nobody featuring Meek Mill. And in April of that same year, he would officially sign to Dream Chasers. Meek would show off his new protege at numerous radio interviews, such as Hot 97 and Sway in the Morning. Snoop was right by his side, and you could tell that he was impatiently waiting, ready to unleash a freestyle to show everybody in the world who was up next. It was definitely a surreal situation for Snoop. He went from looking up to Meek Mill to now him being like his big brother. Rick Ross, who was one of the hottest rappers in the game during his time, also co-signed Snoop, and he was rubbing elbows with some of the top dogs in the game.
And Meek pop up on my timeline, and he rapped the line. I said, man, that line sound familiar. Then the next time he put it up, he was like, Dad's Lil Snupe. I said, oh, yeah, I know what time it is now. It's about to go down.
Hey, how does it feel working with somebody like Meek Mill, man?
It feel good, because I was listening to Meek from Mr. Philadelphia, the Dream Chasers 1, the Dream Chasers 2. And now I'm with him, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just crazy when we be in a freestyle session. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, like I looked up to him like a big artist, you know what I'm saying? Now I look at him to him like a big brother, you know what I'm saying?
He had big plans for his career, and one of those plans included him doing a song with his favorite rapper, Lil Boosie, who was actually locked up during this time, but Lil Snoop would shout him out every chance that he got. He went from doing shows in small towns around Louisiana to rocking stages all over the country with Meek Mill and the Dream Chasers. Snoop was added to the Dreams Come True tour with sold-out concerts all over. He was telling his mom ever since he was a young boy that one day the whole world would know his name, and it looks like he was keeping that promise. His mom couldn't have been any more proud of her son, but she was also surprised by his turnaround. Just a few months earlier, he was getting in trouble, and she was trying to figure out what to do, and now he was on the verge of rap stardom.
We put this out on Sway'sUniverse.com.
Yeah, it's gonna be nasty.
They about to start coming for you. You ready
Yeah,
for that?
yeah.
All right. Okay.
It's
damn.
going down.
Okay. So all right. Good, man.
He's that new dude, man. That's what I let him know. I already know, man. Hey, look, this shit is real.
He just came out.
Man, Coon, if I walk out that bitch, I say, what's Boston? What's the f***ing deal? They start going f***ing crazy. I start, these motherfuckers was saying my lyrics, nigga. Just a nigga. They say I'm too hot, living the life of Biggie and Tupac. You know who shot hit your ass with that ooh-wop. The day Jay-Z go broke, nigga, when Snoop stop, that'll be never, bitch. I'm only getting better, plus about whatever. I'm a trendsetter, man. It's cold out here, but I'm vibing in the world.
Where you at?
I knew that I'd make it out one day.
I talked to Meek after the battle.
After the battle, what did he say?
He told me he was about to change Snoop's life. Yep.
And what did you say to him?
I was just like I'm telling y'all. I was like, y'all see this shit?
On June 19th of 2013, Lil Snupe was back in his hometown after taking a break from touring, and he had just celebrated his 18th birthday a few days earlier. He spent most of that day with his mom, and she stated that she remembers a conversation that they had about his career and what was coming up next, talking about all of the great things that Snoop had going on in his life and how excited they were about the future. She said that he talked about how some of his friends around him was already starting to change due to the fame, and he knew that as his career continued to grow, he would have to make his circle much smaller.
We were just talking, and I don't remember the details, but what stuck out to me was he said, "Mama, you're gonna go." He said, "And you're gonna spend thousands of dollars." He said, "And people are gonna change on you, Mama." He told me, he said, "It's not the people with the money that's gonna change, it's gonna be the people without the money that's gonna change."
And
the reason why that hurt is because that was so true.
At around midnight on June 20th, 2013, Lil Snupe and Lil E left Jonesboro and headed to another town called Winfield about 30 minutes away. They were headed to the apartment of a 36-year-old man named Tony Holden, somebody that Snoop met through Lil E. The plan was for them to gamble on the video game 2K13. Whoever wins gets $100. But something went wrong during the night. Things would take a dark turn, and by the morning, Lil Snupe was dead. His mom got a knock on her door at about 5 a.m. She actually thought it was Snoop, because the way that the person knocked was similar to the way that he did. But when she opened the door, it wasn't her son. It was her next door neighbor in tears, saying that she had just got a bad call and Lil Snupe had been murdered. Denisha didn't want to believe what she was hearing, and when her neighbor told her that it happened in Winfield, she got in her car and immediately got on the highway. She called Snoop's manager and he put her on a three-way call with Meek Mill. They talked for the entire drive down there, trying to figure out what was really going on and what happened to Snoop. The crime scene was surrounded by onlookers, and as Denisha made her way through the crowd, she laid eyes on her son and immediately broke down. She was consoled by the chief of the Winfield Police Department, Johnny Ray Carpenter, who vowed that he would find out who did this to her son. News outlets began to report that he died over a drug deal gone wrong. Then it was changed to a dice game, and finally they said it was over the 2K video game. Snoop's mom didn't really know what to believe, but one person was ready to tell her the story about what happened, Snoop's friend Lil E. And after getting his side of the story and speaking with the Winfield Police Department, it would come out that Tony Holden was the one responsible for shooting Lil Snupe, but he was still on the run from law enforcement. Edric Stewart attended his wake with the family, as well as his funeral, playing the role of a grieving friend. Denisha said that she was always skeptical of Lil E's story, but she had no choice but to believe him during that time. But as she continued to investigate and learn new information, she would soon learn that Lil E was never Snoop's friend, and he was more like Bishop, the character portrayed by legendary rapper Tupac Shakur in the 1991 film Juice. He killed his best friend Raheem and attended the funeral hugging his mother. And in Snoop's mom's opinion, this character embodied who Lil E really was, an evil snake who would backdoor his own friends. After speaking with people around the small town of Winfield, she would learn that Tony Holden wasn't even on the run. People said that they witnessed the chief of police, Johnny Ray Carpenter, drive him away in the front seat of his patrol car. This confused Denisha because the same person that vowed to find Snoop's killer was harboring the person allegedly responsible for the murder. She was able to get in contact with people who were close to Tony Holden and able to get his side of the story. And according to him, it wasn't just over a game of 2K. There was much more to the story. He said that Snoop and Lil E did come to his apartment that night to play 2K for $100 a game. But while they were all kicking it, him and Lil E ended up having words that put tension in the air. He said that him and Snoop continued to play 2K, and Lil E was sitting on the couch behind him. But every time he looked back, Lil E had a mean mug on his face and was acting like he was clutching for his gun. Tony said he got up and went to his room and came back with his .45 caliber pistol, pointing it at Lil E, telling him that it was time to go. He said that he did leave the apartment, arguing the entire way out the door. Tony and Lil Snoop tried to continue their game of 2K, But 5 minutes later, it would be a knock at the door. It was Lil E, and it sounded like he was banging on the door with the handle of a gun. Tony said that he opened the door with his pistol already raised, and he escorted Lil E out of his apartment building at gunpoint. Snoop followed behind trying to de-escalate the situation. He said that the commotion continued outside, and it got to the point where he actually fired a shot at Lil E. Then he took off running along with Lil Snupe down a gangway that led to the back of the apartment building. Tony said that he lost sight of them after that, but he did hear 2 gunshots come from behind the apartment, and those had to be the same 2 gunshots that killed Lil Snupe. This story made Denisha believe that something happened between her son and his so-called friend Lil E, resulting in an altercation and ultimately Lil E killing him, then robbing him. Lil Snupe didn't have his jewelry, money, or the car keys of the vehicle that he drove over there in. It was gone, leading his mom to believe that he was backstabbed by one of his so-called friends.
Hold up. Hey Snoop, you rocking with me tonight? Fucking
Rest in peace to my Lil Snoop. We gonna shine hard for you, Lil. Levels.
I'm standing here at the Maplewood Apartments where earlier this morning at 4 o'clock, Adarian Ross, also known as Lil Snupe, was murdered.
I woke up this morning and I lost a great friend. He was a rapper. He inspired many kids to live out their dreams.
Winfield police say Lil Snupe was shot twice in the chest and died at the scene. They say the motive is still not clear.
As we get more information, I think it'll be more clear as to what that motive might have been.
In the span of just a couple of hours, the crime scene has turned into a memorial where people are bringing flowers, cards, and candles.
What caused it? What caused the altercation? What happened?
That's what I don't know. Like, I don't know the real truth because the older person told me that basically him and Snoop was playing the game and that the little friend that Snoop had with him, the guy that actually murdered him, because it's not his friend, he kept clutching. He had a gun he kept clutching. So the older guy told me that raised a flag for him, like, what are you doing? I got all this money in here, and so what are you doing?
On June 25, 2013, MTV reported that Tony Holden turned himself in to law enforcement, being charged with first-degree murder, armed robbery, and a felon in possession of a firearm. And on July 3, 2013, Edric Stewart would be arrested and charged with manslaughter. Things were starting to look up in the Lil Snupe murder investigation, and his mom felt that justice would really be served over the tragic death of her son. That's why she was completely stunned when she learned just 2 months later that Tony Holden's charges would be reduced. The murder charge would be dropped, and the armed robbery charge would be dropped, and the only thing that would stand would be a felon in possession of a firearm, which carried a sentence of up to 10 years in prison, but not nearly enough for the involvement in the death of her son. And to make things even worse, Lil E's charge of manslaughter would be dropped due to lack of evidence. This absolutely devastated Lil Snupe's mom, Denisha. She didn't understand what was going on, but the more she learned about the chief of police in Winfield, Louisiana, Johnny Ray Carpenter, the more things made sense. She learned that Tony Holden was a well-known drug dealer in Winfield and had connections to the police chief. Not to mention that in 2011, he spent 6 months in federal prison for obstruction of justice charges. This made Denisha come to the realization that the system was completely corrupt. In 2014, Tony Holden was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but the very next year in 2015, Lil Snupe's mom received a letter from the Winfield Police Department saying that her son's case had been officially closed, meaning that Lil E would never be brought up on charges and face justice. Denisha did believe that Tony Holden played a role in Snoop's death, but she also believed that it was Lil E who fired the fatal shots. She would fight for the next 2 years to have the case reopened, and she was finally able to succeed, getting charges brought up on Lil E and a trial date set for January of 2018. But there was only one issue. He wasn't brought up on the murder charges that she was hoping for. It was the illegal use of a firearm during a violent crime, which in the state of Louisiana carries 1 to 2 years in prison or a simple fine of $1,000. Ultimately, Lil E would pay the fine and the case would be once again closed. After having to endure what she considered to be a miscarriage of justice, Lil Snupe's mom would go on the internet, spreading the word about how poorly her son's case was handled by the DA and by the chief of police. She told a story about how she planned on suing the Winfield Police Department in a civil suit, but was told to wait until the Tony Holden case had concluded, or it could possibly cause complications. But when she tried to file the civil suit after Tony Holden's trial, she was told that the statute of limitations had already passed, something that she knew that the courts and law enforcement was already aware of and set her up. She also did numerous interviews online openly talking about the man who she felt was responsible for killing her son, Lil E, but he would also do his own set of interviews refuting her claims, stating that she really didn't know what she was talking about when it came to the relationship of him and Lil Snupe.
What's up with it? I'm E, Edge Store, person who getting accused by Snoop Mama that I killed him, but I didn't do it. Like, facts proof.
When you saw the interview, what was your initial reaction?
Like, it f***ed me up because she talking like, she said some shit like, he played Bishop or some shit like that. Like, what the f***? Like, everybody that know me know that ain't me. Then she just gonna say his bullet match. Like, man, this Louisiana 100% shit is not possible. Matching gun, bullet. Like, and the person been walking out here for 4 years.
Things people were saying to you, like on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
They were like, you killed Snoop, you a bitch ass nigga. Nigga was coming on that bit like, you watch Snoop die, you ain't fucking Snoop, you envy him. You know, I'm tripping, arguing back with him like, man, y'all tripping, like, man, what the fuck, I'm envious somebody, I'm headed to the top with, bro.
Say you really just have that friend. You know, I feel that way because of my situation. You know, but I just say that everybody that you think won't will. You know, the person that you think won't, that person very much will, so you have to be very, very mindful of the people you keep in your circle.
Lil E's claims of not being a killer would take a hit in 2016 because a murder warrant would be put out for him after a New Year's Eve shooting in Monroe, Louisiana on December 31st of 2015, but the charges would ultimately be dropped and Lil E would once again be the murder rap. There was a lot of suspicion in the death of Lil Snupe, and his mom would continue to fight for years. But she not only had to fight a system that was against her, she had to fight against Lil Snupe's own dad, Charlie Brown, who was incarcerated during the time of Lil Snupe's death, just as he had been incarcerated during the majority of his life. When he was released from prison in 2021, he immediately started to make noise online. He was upset that his son didn't have a proper headstone, and he blamed Jay-Z and Meek Mill, calling them out for not donating money to make sure that his son got a proper burial. Snoop's mom would come out and let it be known that this wasn't true, stating that Meek Mill told her there is no money limit on the burial or the headstone for Snoop. She said that it was her decision not to give him a headstone because it would symbolize finality.
You ready? You live?
Yeah, man, that boy Charlie Brown, man. I'm gonna go see my son, Lil Snoop, man. I've been holding this shit out right here, man, since 2013, man. I was Josing then, you dig? I hear this shit, 8 years in the pen, man. I had to hold that shit in, you heard? Everybody ate off that plate, you know what I'm saying? Everybody, man. Mama Snoop, Meek Mill, all type people in the street, you know what I'm saying? I ain't get a quarter out that shit, man. You heard me? That's 99% of my sauce, man.
Snoop's dad went to that grave on a just flute, you know. Pookie knew that we had a discussion about Snoop's headstone. Snoop does not have a headstone due to my personal reasons. Me as a mother is just some steps when you taking this journey. It's just hard sometimes, and what I never wanted to accept is that Snoop is dead. And the hardest thing is to realize that he is never coming back.
Denisha continues her crusade to try to get justice for her son, Snoop. She created an online petition to have the state of Louisiana reopen the case. But despite everything that she's went through, she's managed to find positivity in a very tragic situation. She travels around the country to different detention centers and juvenile facilities, talking to at-risk youth who were around Snoop's age when he was getting in trouble and getting locked up. She tells them about her son's story and that if he can make a change for the better and turn his life around, so can they. Almost 2 years after his death, his second album, RNIC2 Jonesboro, would be released, and one of Lil Snoop's dreams would come true to work with his rap idol Lil Boosie on the song Meant to Be. Lil Boosie made sure to show up to the video set to show respect and love for Snoop. His mentor Meek Mills keeps his name alive as well, constantly shouting him out in songs and dedicating tracks to him, like the 2021 song Angels. Years later, and people continue to speculate on what exactly happened to Snoop on that night in June of 2013. But one thing that most people agree on is that somebody close to him backdoored him, giving credence to the old saying, the saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from an enemy. Snoop always told his mom that one day the entire world would know his name. And despite his life being tragically cut short, he was still able to accomplish that goal. Because his story is a part of hip-hop history, his name will live on forever. And Lil Snoop, he was only 18 years old when he died. Rest in peace, King.